There may only be 73 cards in Champion's Path before Secret Rares, but when it comes to Pokemon V and VMAX, the special set is absolutely filled with them. According to the official description, there's 15 Pokemon V and 3 Pokemon VMAX, as well as 19 trainer cards and a special energy card. However, with the full set list now available, it looks like there's 11 Pokemon V and no special energy cards, so I think they may have messed up a little bit on their description. Or they're counting the Pokemon V that are just reprints that are being given away in the collection boxes, but either way, it doesn't look like there's 15 Pokemon V in the full set, and it doesn't look like there's any special energy in there. Regardless of that, in this video I will be taking a look at all of the Pokemon V and VMAX confirmed to be in the set, and I will be starting with Venusaur V. The very first card in Champion's Path, which you'll be able to get next week when it launches on September 25th, is Venusaur V. It has 220 hit points, and it has a 4 energy attack that does 220 damage. If that sounds familiar, that is exactly the same as Rillaboom V. Rillaboom V does 220 damage for 4 energy with Wood Hammer, but it damages itself by 30. The drawback with Venusaur V's 220 damage attack is that you can't use it during your next turn. So if you want a 2-prizer that hits hard for 4 energy in your Rillaboom deck, it's really up to you. Do you not want to be able to use it next turn? Or do you want to have a Rillaboom V, which can evolve into a VMAX? Ultimately, the Rillaboom deck really just wants someone who can hit really hard, and Venusaur V just does not fill that role. However, it does have Pollen Bomb, which does 80 damage for 3 energy, and you put your opponent's active to sleep, and you poison it. Obviously, a grass deck would rather use Turf Field than Slumbering Forest, but, Venusaur V can trap somebody in the active. It can make your opponent skip a turn if they don't have Switch or Birdkeeper or Mallow and Lana. Unfortunately, Switch, Birdkeeper, and Mallow and Lana are in a lot of decks these days, and don't forget about Scoop Up Net, but a Pollen Bomb would knock out a Jirachi, so Scoop Up Net wouldn't really affect that. Ultimately, Venusaur V is fine, and you can put it in your Rillaboom deck, but Rillaboom needs something that can hit like 340 damage before it can be considered a Tier 1 or Tier 2 deck. So maybe when Venusaur VMAX eventually comes out, who knows when that'll be, but hopefully a Venusaur VMAX comes out and it does just an insane amount of damage and it's not just focused on status conditions, because Rillaboom really wants that. And I would also like to mention that we have Charizard V and Charizard VMAX, we have Venusaur V but no VMAX, and we don't have Blastoise V or Blastoise VMAX. So kind of weird that we're getting staggered releases on the original starters. But anyway, let's go to the next one. So the next Pokemon V in Champion's Path is just Eldegoss V. I won't talk about this really at all. Eldegoss V, it's just a reprint of the one from Rebel Clash. It has Happy Match, you just get a supporter from your discard and you have Float Up. It's the exact same card, just with slightly different art. So the good news about the release in Champion's Path is that the price will go down. The bad news is that, it's just a reprint, so nothing special there. And the third Pokemon V in the set is Incineroar V. It has 220 hit points, a very good first attack, and the second attack is literally just Wood Hammer. So for Flare Blitzer, that's 4 energy, does 220 damage, and it damages itself by 30. That's fine. It's not game changing, it's just a good 4 energy attack. The main draw here for Incineroar V is going to be Grand Flame. For 3 energy, you deal 90 damage and you attach up to 2 fire energy cards from your discard pile to one of your bench Pokemon. When rotation hit, the Mewtwo and Mew Welder Toolbox deck lost the Solgaleo GX with Turbo Drive. So this is a pseudo replacement. It's not as good, it doesn't do as much damage, and it costs an extra energy. But I think Incineroar V is going to find its way into most Welder decks just because you can accelerate energy from the discard, you can pick off a Jirachi, you can put 90 damage onto somebody. It's definitely not a card you can build a deck around, but in terms of just Welder Toolbox decks, Grand Flame is a great attack, and I don't know if it's going to replace Victini V, but Incineroar definitely has a place. And I just want to mention that I don't see Primarina V anywhere. Incineroar has a V card, Decidueye has the great card that is immune to V and GX, which will become obsolete when Vivid Voltage comes out and that Aegislash is out, but where's Primarina V? Why doesn't Primarina V get any love? I'm very disappointed in the Pokemon Company. I want my Primarina V. Let's go to the next card. And next up we have the Big Whale, 280 hit points. On a 2-prizer is absolutely insane. Yes, it is weak to lightning, which could be annoying if Pikarom makes a comeback, as it's slowly starting to do. But if you attach a buff padding, or more likely a Cape of Toughness, the Wailord V goes from 280 to 330 hit points on a 2-prizer. So unless you're facing ADP, your opponent will have to knock out 3 of these things just to win the game. And if you're thinking this is just a beefy Pokemon with bad attacks, you would actually be wrong. Wailord V is surprisingly good. Draw Up for a single water energy lets you attach up to 3 energy from your discard pile to this Pokemon, which is good because Ocean Waves takes 4 energy, and if you flip all heads, you can do 360 damage, knocking out anything out there. Obviously, you'll have to rely on Glimwood Tangle for the coin flips, and it's probably a better option to go with Frostmoth instead of relying on Draw Up, just to get your energy into play, but I'm really excited for Wailord V. I know it's not going to be amazing, but this card is just a lot of fun. It's going to be a really cheap entry-level deck for some players, and it's also going to be a deck that makes really good use of Hyper Potion and probably Mallow and Lana, and if there's any Great Potion for V Pokemon coming out in the near future, that'll really help as well. I just think Wailord V is a really good card, and if you have a lot of luck with coin flips, you can beat any deck out there. I mean, there is nothing that can stand up to a Wailord V that hits 3 heads. That is just insane, and it kind of makes me wonder if they'll ever print a Wailord VMAX. I don't think they can, because if the V has 280 hit points, wouldn't that mean the VMAX has to have 400 hit points or something crazy? But regardless of that, Wailord V is looking to be good. I'll hold off my judgment until I actually build a deck, but I'm very excited to try this out. And next up we have the first V and VMAX combo with Drednaw. They both share the Solid Shell ability, which this Pokemon takes 30 less damage from attacks. That is kind of sad. I wish Drednaw VMAX had minus 50 or at least minus 40. And they also don't have any resistance, so it's kind of disappointing there. And they're weak to lightning, so again, if Pikarom makes a comeback, this deck isn't going anywhere. But starting with Dreadnought V, it does 130 damage, and the opponent's defending Pokemon can't retreat during their next turn. That is okay, I guess. With Switch, Birdkeeper, Mallow, and Lana, not many people are retreating these days, and then you have Dreadnought VMAX. It is disappointing. It only has 320 hit points, and the Solid Shell, again, only takes away 30 damage, and Gmax Headbutt, you have to flip heads to do 240 damage. So it does less damage than he turned his VMAX for more energy, and at first glance, that seems kind of bad. The slightly good news for Dreadnought VMAX is that it has a 4 retreat cost, so that means you can put a buff padding on this thing and bring it to 370 hit points. And let's not forget about the fact that just the base 160 is enough to knock out a Denny, and it's just unfortunate that it's a flip a coin to do 240 total. I wish it was something like if this Pokemon has an extra water energy attached to it, do an extra 40, so if you have 2 extra water energy, then you do 80. I really don't like to flip a coin. But just like Wailord, it partners very well with Frostmoth, so you put this in a deck just with Frostmoth, you're swinging for big damage, and because it's not amazing, the price shouldn't be very high. So if you're a newer player, this can definitely get you some wins on the lower tiers, but this is not going to disrupt anything higher up. I still think Inteleon VMAX is going to be really good, and there's that Mewtwo water deck. Lapras VMAX is always something good to just put up there and just take big knockouts. So is Drednaw VMAX amazing? No. Does it have somewhat of a place in Standard? Sure, I'll be building a deck, but I'm more excited for Wailord V on the Water V side of things. But again, we'll see what happens when I actually get this thing and play it on PTCGO. And the next V and VMAX combo is Gardevoir V and Gardevoir VMAX. Unfortunately, it is not as amazing as I was thinking it was going to be, because back when this was first announced, it looked like this would come out with Darkness Ablaze, and it looked like you'd have a little bit of time to pair this with Malamar. Unfortunately, they decided to hold back Gardevoir V and VMAX until September, so Malamar is expanded now, so you can't pair it with it, and it really takes a hit because of that. And it also takes a big hit with that metal weakness right there. Being weak to metal right now is not a good thing. Zacian V is amazing on its own, so you would have to play a weakness guard energy in this deck just to be able to survive even the basic of matchups against ADP Zacian or Lucario Melmetal Zacian. So that's a knock on Gardevoir VMAX right off the bat. And Magical Shot does 30 damage for 1 energy, okay. And then you have Swelling Pulse that does 120 for 3 energy, and if you were healed during this turn, it does 80 more damage, so 200 damage for 3 energy. That's still not as good as Zacian V, so that is a disappointing V right there. And then you have Gardevoir VMAX, 320 hit points. It only has 1 attack, it takes 3 energy, it deals 180 damage, and you heal 50 damage from this Pokemon. The obvious partner for Gardevoir VMAX, let's see if I can find it all the way down here. Where is it? There it is. Suspicious Food Tin. Heal 80 damage from one of your Pokemon that has at least 1 Psychic Energy attached, and if you healed any damage in this way, discard a Psychic Energy from it. So Gardevoir VMAX can heal, it can heal more than that, but theoretically you're healing 130 damage each turn. But I don't think that's good enough. You're still getting two-shot by most things out there. You don't have a darkness resistance. You're weak to metal. Odds are you're getting two-shot or one-shot by most of the top decks out there, and that's just not good enough. And trying to get this thing powered up is not going to be easy. A 2 energy attack cost would have been great, but they made it 3, and you don't really have a great way to accelerate energy. You can rely on Turbo Patch and Rose, but I just don't think Gardevoir VMAX is good enough to warrant all this work just to do 180 damage. You are two-shotting everything. You're not even knocking out a Drednaw VMAX in 2 hits if they have a buff padding attached. You're not even knocking out a Dreadnought VMAX just regularly in 2 hits, so that is just really bad. If we get some psychic support in the future, maybe Gardevoir VMAX can be good, because with Spelling Pulse, you can use that attack on Gardevoir VMAX with the tool card. I don't remember what it's called, but it lets you use the attacks of previous evolutions. So Gardevoir VMAX can use Spelling Pulse, so if you heal it in the same turn, you can do 200 damage, which is actually more than Gardevoir VMAX does normally. So it might be good in the future. I do not think it is good now, so don't plan on this being a heavy hitter in standard. It's probably going to be not used at all. I'm planning on building decks for all of the VMAXs and decent cards from Champion's Path, but I am not excited to play Gardevoir VMAX. Still, if you think I'm wrong, let me know in the comments. Give me a good deck list. I want this to be good, I just don't think it will be. Another card that was hurt by the loss of Malamar is Delerian Curse V. I thought this was going to be in Darkness Ablaze. They moved it to Champion's Path. I don't think it's really going to have a place in Standard. It does have an interesting ability. It only has 190 hit points. That is bad, but as long as this Pokemon is in the active spot, when your opponent attaches an energy to one of their Pokemon, put 3 damage counters on that Pokemon. Obviously, the perfect partner for this is the Arctozolt, which has the exact same ability, except it doesn't have to be in the active, and it only puts 2 damage counters. So if you have a Delerian Curse V in the active spot and 4 Arctozolt on your bench, which is not that easy, you can put 11 damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon whenever they attach an energy to it. That sounds really good in theory, but when you look at, let's say, Metal Saucer and Intrepid Sword, Zacian V takes advantage of both of those, and you're not attaching from your hand, you're attaching from your deck and the discard. Same thing with Turbo Patch, you're accelerating from the discard, so you can go a full game with something like Zacian V and never attach an energy from your hand to the Pokemon and still win. And the whole strategy with Delerian Curse V is that your opponent attaches energy. So it does have obvious weaknesses. The fact that Arctozolt is an evolution and the basic Pokemon underneath it is an item makes it really difficult to recommend this to be anything. And with Hollow Missile, it only does 60 damage, and you can spread 3 damage counters to your opponent's bench Pokemon. So while I've kind of been crapping on Delerian Curse, it's not the worst card ever made. I can see this being put in like a Dragapult deck. Instead of having this be its own deck with Arctozolt, where you have to do all this Crushing Hammer, all this Team Yell Grunt stuff that can easily be worked around, and you have to have perfect draws and all that. I think you can just put this in a Dragapult deck, throw it in the active, put an air balloon on it, and then whenever your opponent attaches an energy, then they put 3 damage counters on that Pokemon, so I think that might be its role. I don't know. The more I'm thinking about it, the more I want to build a deck with it. I just don't think it's really that possible. Still, if you want me to build a deck with this, with Arctozolt, and try and make it work, and then laugh at my pain as I just lose game after game, let me know in the comments. But at first glance, this card, like a lot of other cards from Champion's Path, is not great. And for the final V and VMAX, the final new V and VMAX in Champion's Path, we have Alcremie V and Alcremie VMAX. I'll talk about the VMAX in a second because it is actually really good. Well, really good in relation to the rest of the cards in the set. But Alcremie V, it only has 170 hit points, so you have to protect this thing like crazy. Sugary Sprinkles is... I like the attack name, but if you ever have to use that, you're probably in a little bit of trouble. And then there's Sweet Splash. It's another one of those attacks where if your opponent just retreats or switches or anything, they break the lock. But for 3 energy, you do 100 damage. And if it's a basic Pokemon, it can't attack during your opponent's next turn. That attack can be really good if your opponent is out of switches, out of Birdkeeper, out of Mallow and Lana, and they can't retreat. Otherwise, it's just a minor annoyance, and it's unfortunate, but... The main draw here is Alcremie VMAX. Not only is the art really good, but the second attack, Gmax Whisk, is really good. I just don't think it's going to be that amazing in Standard. In Expanded, it'll be pretty good. In Standard, I'm a little underwhelmed, but I'll talk about it a little bit right now. So to kick things off, we have Adornment for a colorless energy. For each of your bench Pokemon, search your deck for a psychic energy and attach it to that Pokemon. That is really good. And then for its main attack, discard any amount of energy from your Pokemon, and this attack does 60 damage for each card you discarded in this way, and it only takes 2 psychic energy to pull that off. So unlike Gardevoir VMAX, which requires 3 energy to do 180, this takes 2 energy and you can just go absolutely crazy with it. Obviously, this attack is something similar that we've seen on the Blacephalon cards, but the thing about Blacephalon is that it had to be fire energy. With Alcremie VMAX, it's discard any amount of energy, so that can be double colorless energy, twin energy, triple acceleration energy, counter energy. Any energy that you want will work towards the damage of the attack. So this definitely has a lot of potential in Expanded, where something like Naganadel and Malamar, they exist. To make this work in Standard, I think you have to rely on Porygon Z, because Porygon Z can put your Recycle energy, put your triple acceleration energy, can put your twin energy in there, and you can put your Aurora energy in there and your Horror Psychic energy in there. So I don't think this is something that can just exist on its own. It definitely needs a support Pokemon, and unfortunately the only one that really works in Standard is Porygon Z. So if you want to make this work in Standard, Porygon Z it is, or if you're feeling really lucky, you can use the Baby Alcremie, and that just accelerates energy from your hand. But again, I think Porygon is the perfect partner for Alcremie right now. The downside to playing the Porygon version is that you won't be able to use basic psychic energy, so Adornment will be a completely useless attack because you have to search your deck for it's pretty much basic psychic energy card. And the reason I don't think you can rely on Adornment is because it has a metal weakness, and that's a Zacian weakness, and that is just not good. Yes, you can use weakness guard energy with Adornment, but I don't know. I'm really dead set on the Porygon version. If you think another version will work, please let me know in the comments, but as it stands right now, I think Alcremie and Porygon is the best way to make this work in Standard. But in Expanded, you have so many other options. In Expanded, you can use Naganadel or Malamar, and then you have Max Elixir, Turbo Patch, and just a whole bunch of other ways to get energy into play. So while Alcremie VMAX is not going to go winning any tournaments, right now at least, it is still at least a little bit exciting, and I'm more excited for this than I am for Gardevoir. Moving to the Fighting type V Pokemon, we have Lucario V. It has 210 hit points, and Aura Sphere does 40 and snipes 20. That's okay. And then we have Beatdown Smash. For 3 energy, you do 180 damage, and you can't use Beatdown Smash during your next turn. The success of Lucario V in Standard really depends what's going to happen with Fighting type Pokemon. Aura Sphere isn't bad, but it's also not that good. This definitely isn't the second coming of Buzzwole GX with Jet Punch, which did 30-30. You know, the good thing about Lucario V is that Beatdown Smash knocks out an Eternatus VMAX, and that's always good, but I think this is mostly just going to be a support Pokemon in the Colossal Sandaconda deck, because Beatdown Smash can knock out a Crobat, a Dedenne. I don't think it can knock out an Oricorio, can it? But it can knock out Crobat, Dedenne, Eternatus V, Eternatus VMAX. And unlike Sandaconda, you don't have to discard energy, but the point of Sandaconda is that it doesn't really matter because it's probably getting knocked out the following turn anyway. You know, Lucario V is fine. It just really depends what is going to happen with Fighting type Pokemon in the future. As it stands, this isn't terribly exciting, but if you have a Colossal deck, you may as well just throw it in there and see what happens. And then we have Graplock V. Also has 210 hit points, and then it has Tie Up, which only does 20 damage, but if the defending Pokemon is a basic, it can't attack during your opponent's next turn. That is underwhelming. Again, Switch, Birdkeeper, Mallow and Lana, Stoop Up Net, all these other things, and I mean, eventually you'll probably have to take a knockout. It's good in theory, but when you actually play it in a real deck against real opponents, it's, again, a minor annoyance. And then you have Moonsault Press. It requires 2 fighting energy and a colorless, so I think that's the exact same attack cost as Sandaconda V. The difference with Moonsault Press and Sandaconda V is that Sandaconda V just does 220 damage and you discard 2 energy. With Graplock V, you have to flip a coin, you have to get heads, and then you still just do the same amount of damage. So best case scenario, for 3 energy, you do 220 damage, and worst case scenario, you do 120 damage, whereas with Sandaconda V, the only case scenario is that you do 220. Maybe there's a world where this sneaks its way into a Colossal deck, and you use Tie Up when you go behind on prizes with Martial Arts Dojo to deal some damage, but With more and more VMAX Pokemon always coming out, tie-up really isn't that great. I mean, you might be able to slow down ADPization for a little bit, but against Eternatus VMAX, tie-up isn't really going to do a whole lot. And if you're facing Eternatus VMAX, Graplock V is just not going to get you there. You want to be using Sandaconda V, not Graplock. So I think this is just a disappointing Pokemon. I don't think it's going to see really any play, but again, if you disagree with me, let me know in the comments. And for the final new Pokemon V in Champions Path, we have Deraldon V with Hard Coat, takes 30 less damage. We've seen that ability before. And then Gatling Slug, 10 plus. This attack does 40 more damage for each metal energy attached to this Pokemon. I don't see a world where this Pokemon is used really at all in any decks. If Magnezone still existed in Standard, maybe we see it there. If Solgaleo Prism Star still existed in Standard, maybe we'd see it there. But in Standard, why would you play Duraludon over Zacian V? I don't know. To put it into perspective, Zacian V does 230 damage for 3 energy and it has an amazing ability. Duraludon V, to get close to that number, it needs 5 energy attached to it. So you can do 210 damage for 5 energy. So you're doing less, and that is just not great. And it's not like this thing has a 1 attack cost, and then you can just build upon that. You have to have 3 energy on this thing to even get an attack off. And at that point, it's just 130 damage. The only real place this would fit in is in the Lucario and Melmetal Zacian deck, where you use Full Metal Wall, so you take 30 less damage there. Hard Coat takes another 30 damage away, and then you put a Metal Goggles, take 30 more away. But having to put 5 energy on this thing to do over 200 damage just seems like way too much work when Zacian V accelerates energy to itself. It only needs 3 to attack. I just think Duraludon V is super disappointing, and with Aegislash-V and Aegislash-VMAX coming in Vivid Voltage, I don't see a place for this in Standard. And I will show you the full art, so there's just the Drednaw V full art. I like the patterns on the full art. There's Gardevoir V, we'll get to Cursula. I really liked that art. That art is really good. And then Graplock, and we have the full art Hop coming in the set. That's cool. But the main reason everyone is going to be buying Champions Path packs and collection boxes and all that is for the next card, Charizard VMAX Rainbow Rare. Any Charizard card in Rainbow Rare form always has just the insanest price in real life. You know, this could be a $200 to $300 card. It really just depends on the pull rates. But I can pretty much tell you right now, before the announcement that this was in the set, Champions Path pre-orders probably weren't that amazing. And then as soon as this was announced, as soon as this was confirmed this past week, the pre-orders must have just exploded. Charizard VMAX is going to be such a huge collector's item. A PSA 10 of this card is going to be, like I said, it's going to be several $100s. If you're buying Champions Path in bulk, this is what you're searching for. You'll be happy with Drednaw VMAX and Gardevoir and Kabu and Piers and Rainbow Rare, but you want the Charizard VMAX or you want the shiny Charizard V. I'm not going to take a guess as to how much this will cost in real life. It could be anywhere from, $50 to $100? Who knows? It's the V to the VMAX. It's shiny. It just depends how rare is this thing going to be. And then the final card is just the Suspicious Food Tin. But yeah, that is it for the V and VMAX. So we have the reprints of Charizard V and Charizard VMAX, the reprint of Eldegoss, and then all the ones I talked about. And yeah, let's see here. So we're also getting reprints of Double V. Actually, I'll pull it up right here. We're getting a reprint of Double V with a different art. We're getting a full art Charizard V. See if I can scroll past there. Hey, another Colossal V, or another Colossal, because we need another Colossal. I think this will be the 4th Colossal between the pre-release Colossal, the one in the set, the secret rare, and then this promo one. And then we have Hatterene V. Hatterene or Hatterini? I don't know. But I think this one is launching in October in one of the collection boxes for Champions Path. It seems like it could be not great. Confounding Pulse, that just seems like less than a minor annoyance. And Mental Crush does 180 for 3 energy if your opponent's active Pokemon is confused. That doesn't seem very good. And then we're also getting Morpeko V, reprint Grimmsnarl V, reprints with new art, and then the full art Jirachi GX, which is really cool, and then the alternate art Togepi and Cleffa and Igglybuff, which is an alternate art reprint. And I think that art is just amazing. And yes, this is a GX launching in 2020, maybe 2021. We don't know because it is from a yet unannounced product. So we don't actually know when it's coming out, just that it is coming out. But that does it for me talking about all of the Pokemon V and VMAX in Champions Path. Overall, I'm not that excited. Unlike something like Shiny Legends where Zoroark GX was included and that was just, the best deck ever when it was in Standard, Champions Path really doesn't seem to have a whole lot in it that's going to disrupt the meta. You have Venusaur V, which could be put in Rillaboom, Incineroar, which is in Welder, Wailord V. I'm going to make that work, mark my words. Drednaw VMAX, that could be something. And then Alcremie V, Alcremie VMAX, that could be something in Expanded. But there just doesn't seem to be that one card in the set that is really good in terms of V and VMAX. I just wish there was something in the set that was its own deck and wasn't really just a complement to another deck. But if I had to pick one card from the set in the V and VMAX area, it's going to be Wailord. Mark my words, Wailord would be the best deck ever. I'm going to make it work. And in the next video about Champions Path, I'll talk about the rest of the cards, or I'll talk about the rest of the noteworthy cards, and unfortunately there isn't very many. So I will see you then. Let me know in the comments which card you're most excited for, and yeah, I'll see you tomorrow.